everyone, this is G.I. Gary from Pina Comics with another vintage G.I. Joe review. And this one is special because every July, Hooded Cobra Commander 788 hosts an event called Cobra Convergence. And what he is doing is asking anybody to create Cobra content for the month of July. This year is Cobra Convergence 4, and the theme is the color blue. As such, as G.I. Gary, I'm going to go to the first Cobra robot. And when you think Cobra and robots, you're thinking of the Cobra Bat. But it's not the first robot. It's the first dedicated robot. But somebody may think of the first Sunbow series, and during that limited series, there was a robot in the mine shaft, the radioactive mine shaft, that Snake Eyes and Tripwire and Gung Ho and Covergirl went in, and they were attacked by the snake armor. Now the snake armor is best known in this white color, and you'd be like, so why are you doing the snake armor? Well, the snake armor stands for System, Neutralizer, Armed, Cloaking Equipment. Yes, it is an acronym, and it is a forced acronym because of cloaking being with a K. And Hasbro did do a lot of that in the 80s. So in 1983, we were introduced to the snake, and that's what the review is going to be about today, is the Cobra snake. And you're like, hey, it's white. It's not Cobra blue. But wait, it was one of the very first recolored, I don't know if you can't really call this a vehicle, even though a figure fits inside, but it's really the first recolored other than a figure toy in the G.I. Joe line. Because in 1983, we had the white snake armor. And then in 1985, we had the dark blue snake armor, same color as the Night Landing raft and also the Cobra Rattler. And then in 1986, the Outpost, the Cobra Outpost, would be this same shade of blue as well. Now, because this is so similar, essentially a recolor of the white snake, we are going to review them together. Now, in 1983, again, it made its debut in the Cobra. So in 1983, the snake armor made its debut in the Sunbow animated series, the very first mini-series, as, again, in the mine shaft. So, and it's very notable for that. In comics, it premiered in issue number 19 of G.I. Joe, written by Larry Hama and drawn by Mike Vosberg. And it is also notable because this is the ninth, as issue number 19, this wraps the first major story arc of G.I. Joe to a close with Quinn and Dr. Venom. Now, in the comic book, Dr. Venom gets trapped in a laboratory with Quinn and Snake Eyes. And Quinn and Snake Eyes are under fire by enemy troops, and Snake Eyes gets into the snake armor. Because it is a Dr. Venom invention, there is, of course, is a mind control element, much like the brainwave scanner. So when Snake Eyes enters the snake armor, he attacks Quinn under Dr. Venom's control. And also of interesting is it's also the same issue as the Pack Rats, a similarly sized, I want to, again, can't really call them vehicles, but they're kind of remote control operated by the Joes. And these two go to battle during issue number 19. And it's, it's great. It shows off a lot of what was interesting with the toys. And it really doesn't get used much, again, in the G.I. Joe series. And which is a shame. It's kind of cool. It has some aspects of, you could place this around a terror drone, or you can do other things with it as well. It's great. You have mind control devices, and you can put a character in it, and you can also have it out as just as a robot. But again, so it's mostly known for this as being white snake armor. But again, in 1985, Hasbro re-released it in the color blue. And, you know, qualifies for Cobra Convergence 4.
Both toys used the same molds and the same accessories. The major difference being color between the 83 release and 85. And in 85, there was a variation with decals with a white background versus using the clear background as was used in 1983. For my example here, my 1985 is equipped with the first run of decals which have the clear background. The white snake armor being released first is generally more well known than the blue snake armor. It was used in media such as the comic books and the cartoon show. And is most associated when people think of the snake armor, a long-time semi-iconic toy from the early years of the G.I. Joe line. Now the blue is a very dark blue, much like the Cobra Rattler or Night Landing Craft or even the Surveillance Report. And as such, as you can see, the blue is very dark, and you know, the decals don't show up as well. So we'll just take a quick spin around and you can just see, you know, like you can just see the difference between the decals. It's like the decals are just barely visible on the blue. You can see the little heat damage on there because, you know, it's just that. Because of the rarity of the blue or the hard to findness of the blue snake armor, I'm not going to re-sticker it with by reproduction decals and re-sticker it just to make it look pretty. If I had a bunch, maybe I would. But because of the rarity, I'd try to keep it as original as possible. And as you can see on the white, the colors just really pop. Just really looks good. You can tell the decals were designed for a white toy, not a dark blue toy. The dark blue toy does have its place because it was produced. But you can definitely say that that was like a Night Ops snake armor. So the now each one of my snake armors is outfitted with each of the accessories. You have the claw, you have the one-time use missile, you have the machine gun, and you have the flamethrower. Now, when you are playing with the toy, you know, you might only have one, you might have all the four accessories, and you're like, well, I can only display two, and like, oh, well, I'm going to lose two. And when you look for these online, you definitely do see some that are incomplete, they're missing parts. And generally it's because, you know, people put on their favorite ones on each side, and then, you know, the other two just got lost to time. Now, one of the interesting things, and I'll show you on the white one because you can see it a little bit on the blue one, but there are two pegs on the back right here, 1 and 2. Now, the cool thing is you could take, so if you have two extra, you know, like, so for example, I'll take the missile off of this guy and the arm off this guy, and then we'll come over here. Now, what you got is you got these two extra plugs, so you can just put it right over there. Whoop. Put it right there and try it again. All right, so now he's got a hand coming out of his backside. But now you got a place to put all your accessories, should anything. So now you have a place where all the accessories hang. And the added benefit is if he falls down, he doesn't fall down on his back all the way. So he's not a complete turtle. So there you have that. So he falls back, boop. Yeah, there you go. But the other cool thing there is accessory that I'm not showing you right now at the moment. And we'll just take these back off. And as you can see, the missile is prone to, you know, just, you know, got damaged just by, you know, gravity. Somewhere along the line it was just sitting and sitting. And they're also not really on there too secure. There's a little ball, and we'll just take off the grip. As you can see, it's stuck on there, and I'm trying to be careful not to rip it. There we go. As you can see, it's a little ball that snaps into place, and eventually it'll focus in. But yeah, you can see the little ball. It snaps into the little thing like so. You know, it's probably a good idea at this point, after 30 plus years, you give it make sure it's a little wet, and just to give it a little, yep, and you hear that little snap, which means that it's on there securely. So I'll just put them back on here. And then again, like I said, you got this, and mine's a little worse for wear, but not bad. And put it in there, so he's good. Now, the main thing about the Snake being battle armor is the fact that you can actually put a figure inside. So, in 1983, and when they released it, you had the Cobra Trooper on the box. But, you know, as known, you know, so we'll get to this. So you can see the little view screen here, the decals, you know, you got danger, you got the number 6. You know, you got some little, you know, black accents there, and you got some red on the foot. You know, just got little screens here and there. You know, probably not exactly the most accurate decal placement. And what I do is I have a few of these, so eventually one will get restored with new stickers. And but you know, the thing is, when you get these, and here's one good thing about these. After so many years, these halves haven't gotten brittle with age, I'd say, but you can definitely tell they still fit snugly, and you can take it apart pretty easy. Just takes you got to work your thumbnail around, and then you can fit a figure in there. And much like in G.I. Joe 19, Snake Eyes is found inside the snake armor, you know, and like I said, and you know, he fits right in there. He's a good guy, and you know, he fits in. They've definitely fit better with thinner sculpts rather than bulky sculpts, but does pretty okay even with the bulky sculpts, because there is a lot of room in the cavity of the snake armor. And you can see this one doesn't have any of the stickers on. So like I said earlier, there are a lot of stickers on this. Like here's this other back. You can see it has like a little Space Invaders type screen. Kind of odd to be at the back of the Cobra Troopers or whoever's mind control head, but it's still there. Nice little screen there. And then on the front, you know, you got another view screen here, which can ties into the eye screen there. And then we have a couple other little neat features that add detail to the sculpt and show off, you know, the imagination of everybody that was involved at the time. You know, and like I said earlier, you know, when you look at how much room is around old Snake Eyes right here, you know, you can still fit a somewhat bulky figure. Now in the 1985 box, instead of a Cobra Trooper, because you got this dark blue everywhere, they needed a different action figure to show off the mold and show off the contrast. So on the back of the box, you had good old Storm Shadow. So yeah, like a lot of G.I. Joe, they're trying to mind control ninjas because, you know, that's a secondary function of the snake. Now, if you have a snake and you don't have an action figure to put in it, you know, what they did include with the snake was this little rubber piece. And this piece is very commonly missing. So what it does is it takes the place of the action figure, and you can use the snake much like the Battle Android Trooper. And it just, you can display it. And so, you know, you have it over here, and I'll just take these guys and they'll just hang out over here. You know, it sits into the legs like this. You can see too a difference too between when you have a figure and when you have that. The legs are much straighter with the rubber insert than it is with the action figure. Whoop. And then, but like I said, you know, the body just clips on around it, and then you clips on around it, and then you can display your guy. So you can see the got there, and so now he's ready to mind controlled, or well, Snake Eyes was mind controlled, but now the parts are there. Now, one of the good things about these snake armors, especially, they're still rather affordable in the collector market. A lot of times they are not complete. So if you're looking for one, you know, depending on what you're trying to do or how you collect, you generally can get a good deal on these if they're incomplete. Especially the white snake armor, is you can generally find them incomplete for very reasonable prices. And the most common piece that you'll think missing is actually the rubber piece as mentioned earlier. Sometimes you do find the rubber piece on an incomplete. It might not have all 4 of the weapon systems, and you can build a complete one easily that way. Generally, that little rubber insert is about just as expensive as buying a complete one online. One of the good things about the blue Snake armor is that each of the rubber accessories, that gray rubber accessory, is exactly the same as the lower cost white Snake armor. So you can buy a white Snake armor for parts to restore a blue Snake armor. So that is one good thing. The blue Snake armor as itself, because it's such a hard find, it does command a very premium price because of the scarcity of it. And because of the scarcity, it actually has made it more popular. It's still a good toy, but like you can see, it just doesn't show up as well in the light. However, it does make something like a good Night Ops Snake armor.
So in conclusion, is the Snake armor must have for your collection? That is really up for you to decide, but personally I think the white armor is great. I think everybody should have at least one white armor. It is iconic because of its place in the original miniseries, and it does have a place in the comic book as well, especially being a part of the first storyline. And it does get some use afterwards. Larry Hama lately used it in a recent issue during an infiltration of ninjas in Springfield. And as such, the white guy, he's reasonably priced, easy to get. Army build him if you want him. Have Dr. Venom, directing them, or have, put him with your Bat Army, fill them with troops, have them not troops, just put the stand in them and let them go. Now, the blue armor, on the other hand, well, the blue armor is pretty exclusive, and I would say that's, again, up to you. Personally, I think one is enough for me. I'm not going to hunt down more. If I come across more at a opportunity that I can't really pass up, I'll get more. But for me, I'm not going to hunt out that second one or the third one or any additional other than the one I have. It's cool. It's definitely, I would say, more of a novelty for me, but it's cool that also it's more of a completionist thing too as well. It is darker, it doesn't show up as good, but it has that part for me in my collection. And I would say because of it's just not as common as, it's definitely not as common as the white Snake armor. It's up to you to decide that as well. And again, for Pina Comics, this is G.I. Gary saying thank you, Hooded Cobra Commander 788, for doing Cobra Convergence, inviting anybody to join on. And looking forward to seeing you guys with the next review. And until then, see ya. Dr. Venom, you are a jerk. Ha 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 ha. For more videos, subscribe and hit that bell icon.